newspapers. There was one saying that apparently there was this alien drone monitoring police in Spain after these shock images show something in the sky. Some people saying it's a reflection from the camera, others saying it is some sort of monitoring device because it's been seen in so many different angles. However, also, there were stories in the newspapers just a couple of months ago about how apparently UFO sightings are massively on the decline. Why? Well, because we don't really believe things before our eyes anymore because of the amount of fake news and rubbish, really, that we endure. So, what is true? And why are alien sightings apparently, or UFO sightings, I should say, on the decline? Well, Tony Topping is a UFO journalist and joins me live on the line. Morning to you, Tony.
Hey, good morning. It's been a long time no speak to this radio station. Thank you for having me on.
That's all right. Firstly, what is a UFO journalist? Presumably you are only interested in sort of the paranormal, unidentified objects?
Well, quite simply, matey, I write articles, I appear on radio programs, and I've been contacted by TV because of my very unusual circumstances in life that involved interaction with UFOs and being stalked, and it's insane, frankly.
So you have yourself had contact with UFOs, unidentified flying objects?
Yes. The thing is with it, when he says that, when you said earlier that it's all rubbish and they're all seeking fame and fortune.
Well, yeah, that was someone else's words, but yes, go on.
Yeah, of course. I'd just like to add a caveat to that, and it is this: in my line of work, my biggest hazard isn't me being the crank, it's being approached by people who think they work for the government, who think they work for secret societies, and who think they work for the intelligence services. And it really is an occupational hazard with them. There are genuine fantasists out there who really, really think that they work for the government and the security services and all that kind of thing.
So you're saying that you're approached by people who tell you that they're working for the security services?
Yes.
Why do they do that?
There's a number of issues going on. There's a number of psychological issues going on with them. There's a number of factors, compulsive lying. There's a gentleman, for example, who approached me at a conference, hilariously enough, and indicated to me that MI5 had arrested a man who looked like a duck in a chip shop in Birmingham. In fact, he wasn't a duck. He was an alien, and he had actually been arrested by MI5. He was called the Duck Man.
Good job he didn't look like a fish in a chippy.
Yeah, very true. I mean, this poor guy,
But why do you think that people? Why do you think people are targeting you to lie that they work for Her Majesty's intelligence or Secret Service or whatever else? Is it because they're trying to freak you out, do you think, or is it for some other reason?
No. I think in general, it's a sweeping remark, but I think in general it attracts a myriad of people with a myriad of issues. The genuine boys and girls who work in the security services would not even tell you that they did, and I'd be very disturbed if they did.
So they're trying to you think that some people are trying to throw you or trying to sort of disprove things to you and just maybe, I don't know, be a nuisance?
Yes, very true. I've been in this game a lot of years, and when you've had unmarked helicopters bearing down on you and strange things happening to you, you can sort the wheat from the chaff and the men from the boys on those issues, right. I can assure you.
So what are then the experiences that you claim to have had that involve extraterrestrial either craft or beings or what?
Okay. All right. Well, I'm no stranger to this radio station in years gone by. I used to often come on this radio station talking about my experiences. In fact, George Galloway said that I needed an office. Honestly, back in years gone by. But for listeners who are not familiar with me, I started having strange aerial activity over my house that I filmed. And it led to me, luckily, I've had it all image analysed. Some of this footage is displaying craft capable of aerodynamic capability that a normal aircraft cannot do. The imagery just says it all of what I filmed. For example, I now live in Southport. Tragically, I lost my mother in March. I've been to hell and back. But basically, what it was, in Southport just recently, about 4 months ago, stood up near the Marine Lake. All of a sudden, for about 10 seconds, a UFO appears with 3 pink lights. Just illuminates itself, travels off again, burst of about 10 seconds. That quick, I couldn't get it on the camera. But this saga is part of an ongoing saga of interaction and quite a deep and mysterious.
Why do you think that they are? If indeed people believe what you're saying, why do you think that they're choosing you?
Well, they're not. Well, this is where you've got to be careful with it, because they're not just choosing me. It doesn't quite work like that in real life. It appears that way. The reason why is I don't know. That's why I'm on the quest that I'm on.
Well, then how do you know that they're not choosing you then? How do you know enough to know they're not choosing you, but you don't know why they're choosing you? You see what I mean?
Well, yeah, okay. I know I'm having interaction with them. I know that there's been a very drip effect from them as to why, but it's very cagey. It's very secretive as to why such people will be around. You see, one of the classic things with this UFO phenomenon, media reports, UFO is in decline. UFO sightings are in decline, but yet UFO sightings are actually on the increase. Interaction, for example, in people in Sweden who are contactees in Sweden would indicate that you could cross-correlate. There are some people in Sweden who are having interactions with UFOs that are similar to me. We can cross-correlate with each other. We don't do it. We really actually... You don't really want to be shouting all this from the rooftops because people might think you're a bit barking, but I'm a Yorkshireman. I tell it as it is. This is how it happened to me, and I managed to have...
And is that the only time, or have there been other occasions where there have been... Say that again? Numerous times.
Numerous, pal. Yeah, numerous. You'll never get up. For example, I've said all this in public. There's nothing I've not said on here that I won't say in public. And basically, if you come across these ETs, you will never get over what they look like. The fact of the matter is this. The media say that UFOs are in decline. Actually, it's control. There is an international cover-up in place. If you look at the work of Dr Stephen Greer, Defence Minister Paul Hillier of Canada, they will all say the same. There is an international cover-up for reasons that are nefarious, actually. But the situation with it is the fact that you can put this secret in plain view. These people behind the UFOs can put themselves in plain view, and of course the cover-up works very well because everybody just laughs and goes, oh yeah, UFOs, whatever, when in fact it is what it is. It is exactly what it says on the tin. Although saying that, Cristo, 95% of them, plasma, satellites, aircraft, whatever, atmospheric, it's just this small, tiny 5% equation. And if you get involved in that area, you can get yourself in a bit of bother, and there's a cost to it. It's not about seeking fame or recognition. There's a cost to your personal life in some way when you start getting involved with all this.
Why do you think, then, that... Let's say this is true, and that they are making visitations to people and flying over your house and perhaps over the house of others. What's their objective? What do you think that they want from us and everyone else?
They don't want anything from us. Their tech is very advanced. It's warning. I was just saying to your producer before I came on air that I was doing something for Channel 4 a few years back, TV thing. And on that morning, before I went up to London to film them, and I've texted your producer an image of what I saw, which was drawn by the artist Lloyd Canning. On that morning, at the height of the Ukraine crisis, I've had a number of years of interaction with these strange objects coming in over my house. Granted, there is this equation of 5%. Anyhow, I had this extraordinary vision that came in front of me with 2 clocks and a triangle-type UFO, similar that was seen in Belgium in the 90s, big UFO, two clocks. One said 1/4 to midnight, the other said 5 to midnight. It was a staggering vision. And now, the thing is, okay, well, fair enough. What fascinates me is, how the hell did my brain make up that vision? Because I'm not good at drawing, I'm not good at art, but it was...
No, I'm looking at it now, because you sent me to my producer, you sent, and I've got it here, you sent a picture, and you're right, it looks like 2 what looks like if you're looking into the sky, two black triangles, and above each triangle a big clock. So you're saying that that's what you saw above your head. So what do you think that proves?
Well, two factors happened there. In my perception, in that image, what Lloyd's done, they're in a field. It's been drawn in a field. That field, and this is part of the story, that field triggered major air operation activity. They had a major air exercise at the time of Selby, North Yorkshire. Major stuff going on. Typhoons, jets. We even had a Hercules transporter plane circle the estate about several times. Now, for all intents and purposes, it could be a military exercise. But I always believe that there is some element of the security services or the military that know a bit more, that just know a bit more than average about all this.
Okay, so let's presume that what you're saying is that it is some sort of alien beings providing us with some sort of warning. What are they warning us of, and how do you know that they're warning us?
Right, okay. The gravity of interactions with them over the years spanning since 1997 would indicate to me that they are fundamentally warning about war and conflict among nations, Russia, America, Britain. That these are the nations that are being warned about what they're doing.
Okay, and what proof do you have that is what they are? Because a lot of people listening to that might say, okay, well, how is he not speculating there?
Okay. All right, yeah. There's an element of speculation in it, and it would be dishonest to say that there isn't. I'm assuming based on since 97 when all this began for me. But what the strength in my research is in my imagery analysis and the footage that I have taken with the UFOs have clearly displayed aerial maneuverability. They have clearly displayed a modus operandi of going near radio antennas. I'm a radio ham. On 3 occasions, these UFOs have intentionally illuminated a radio antenna, TV aerial and my ham radio antennas twice. That this would indicate that there's a modus operandi. Not only that, people think that they're from outer space when in fact there are bases in the oceans. It's that simple. There's a guy from Harvard University, Abe Loeb, I think he was recently in the Daily Express, the chief of astronomy at Harvard University, indicating that mankind will eventually contact extraterrestrials. It's a case of when, and we'll have to be prepared and blah, blah. It's a lot more simpler than that. They're more in the back door than we would realise, I feel. From my circumstances and from my experiences, it would appear that there is a warning of some description being given regarding the activities of government and military and how we could possibly destroy each other, and that seems to be a doomsday type warning that is being given by them. This is from years of experience I've had with dealing with them, and that appears to be what's happening.
But have you taken that just from the fact that they seem to be appearing near radio signals, or is there something more concrete that you've got to show that?
No, in the time we've got, it's quite a long story. Is there something more concrete that I've got? It's a good question. It's a valid point. What I'm suggesting is that they move in the shadows. All this moves in shadow. You can't actually quantify it. You can't say, oh yeah, that's it. It doesn't work like that in real life. It really doesn't, because it's in plain view, but yet it isn't, if you get my drift. It's very secretive. The military are very secretive about all this. The second point to make, we said the radio antennas, didn't we? We've said that bit. We've said, just losing my train of thought here. I was just going to make an important point.
I was asking what they actually really want and how you've taken the fact that they need to warn us about our potential conflicts with each other and the way in which we're interacting with each other, how you've taken that just from them sort of being near radio signals.
Yes, you did say it. Yes, that's right. It's a very long story that spans since about 1997. It actually spans since age 2, and I need it in the space that we've got now. I couldn't really begin to explain other than it's a process of contact with governments. It's a process of contact. They are real. They exist.
Do governments know? Do you think that our government is aware that they exist? And do you think our government or any other governments around the world have actually been communicating?
Yes, I would suggest America. I would suggest that an attempt has been made by the United States Navy in the ocean, in the Pacific area, to contact UFOs. There is a prime minister in one of the Pacific islands who actually indicated in public that America and Britain actually know that there is UFO activity in his neck of the woods because of the level of ships that he's got and the strange sightings going on. I had an incident a few months back, it was when my mum was alive, bless her, where we had a UAV come over my house. So this UAV, Cristo, comes in.
What's a UAV? What is a UAV?
Sorry, the UIV. It's the what do they call them now? UAV. What does it stand for? Gracious me, aerial vehicle, unmanned aerial vehicle. What the Air Force use normally.
Like a drone, some would say.
Like a drone. You got it, kid. Like a drone. Yes. So what happens is that this UAV comes in over the house. It had actually been coming over the house day in, day out, actually. But what was interesting, what was very revealing when we ran image analysis on it, was that the UFO that came near it was travelling so fast near it that as we tried to slow it down, we couldn't even slow it down at the slowest speed of the video. It still maintained its speed. This UFO, it was spectacular. Whammo, went straight past it. There's intention behind that. So in other words, these UFOs are guided by intelligence. The head of the Belgian Air Force, Wilfred de Beer, in the 90s, commented that his Air Force, his F-16s, were tracking these UFO triangles that were travelling Mach 12 to a dead stop. So what he was saying is his pilots are getting radar lock on the triangle craft that's going up to Mach 12, and then this craft is capable of just stopping dead in the air. And he said that in public, did Wilfred de Beer, the head of the Belgian Air Force, that his Air Force was up against something. So that there's numerous quotes from astronauts, numerous quotes from government ministers, that there is, even Admiral Hill Norton, who I can highly recommend, who indicated that from a Secretary General nature of First Sea Lord, clearly indicated that he witnessed some type of cover-up, some type of existence of visitation going on by off-world intelligences. And that appears to be what is going on in the sky, because the reason is elusive.
Okay, what would you say to anyone listening to that saying, look, the man is delusional, he's clearly seeing things, he wants to believe it so much that, I don't know, maybe you're having some sort of vision, some sort of mirage, psychosis, whatever word you want to use.
Yeah, I'm savant. I'm savant, and I'm capable of triggering aerial phenomena over my house that is causing aerodynamic maneuvers that a normal plane wouldn't do, and I have a psychological dysfunction that is capable of triggering that. I had a guy from the Netherlands accuse me of flying a plane over my house to simulate the UFO footage when I'm not a qualified pilot. And I get all these things.
You see, I'll tell you where I am, Teddy, because I am less of a skeptic than I used to be, because I've read a lot about the subject, and what I always find I'm less of a skeptic regarding people who believe that they have been in some way abducted or had some sort of contact, only because of, firstly, the sheer number of people that seem to believe that they have, but also the consistency of different stories. I think the name of the author is David Jacobs, maybe, I've read.
Oh, yes, you know David Jacobs.
And about how the amount of the consistency among stories from different people in different parts of the world, the amount of people that have actually quite a lot to lose who come forward and say something. Mm-hmm. Now, do I believe their accounts 100%? Maybe not. But do I believe that something is happening to make people believe it? Because either everyone is having some sort of joint psychosis where they're all believing that they have been abducted and that they all are having some sort of similar story, or it's true, but what really struck me when I read a lot of accounts was the number of people that really didn't want to tell anyone and really didn't want this to have happened to them.
Correct. Yes, that's absolutely that is absolutely correct. Even I sometimes get reluctant to come on radio shows and TV and really, really talk about what happened to me. Even I sometimes get reluctant because you really, you have that kind of chortle factor coming at you. You've got to be a good sport with it. You've got to have a bit of a crack with it. Yeah, I understand that. But sometimes it can be deeply personal, and sometimes for the real contact experiencer, the contactee, and the term contactee stems from 1960s, 1950s, where Billy Meyer, to name but a few, Adamski, I think, were clear to have contact with aliens. But the thing is about that is the FBI, under the FBI at the time, monitored them very closely. They monitored them very closely.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of arguments online that actually the reason it happened then was because we had never used nuclear weapons prior to that, and that's why you don't really have any sightings of UFOs prior to the sort of 50s.
True indeed.
Because that's when they decided, if indeed this is all true, to make some sort of contact, because that was when they wanted to start warning us that we shouldn't be messing with this stuff and should be looking after the planet rather than releasing nuclear weapons and the like. And again, I'm not 100% on board, but I do respect that people have this sort of opinion. Tony, I appreciate you being a good sport and coming on and explaining all of that to us. Really would love your reaction to that. That's the UFO journalist Tony Topping.